Sarah Faraday and I'm mindfulness and wellbeing practitioner here at Kettering General Hospital. I'm here to do a sleep therapy session for you today. So what the session will cover is a few tips on setting up a good sleep routine, and then I'll guide you through a body scan practice, which I'll explain later, which is a mindfulness practice that can help with some relaxation prior to going to bed. So importantly is setting up a sleep routine, a sleep hygiene routine, and it's important to stick to, where possible, the same bedtime each night if we can. Appreciate that there may be quite a few of you working shifts, night shifts, etc., so that may be tricky, but it's always a good idea, even on night shift, to get into the same routine so that when you come back after a night shift you have a similar routine each time you do a night shift. Important to move electronics away from where you're going to sleep at night. I know that people have mentioned in the past they sleep with laptops in bed because their sleep is very poor, so when they wake up they can then do some work, which actually is just going against everything that we say to ourselves to try and sleep better. So it's important that we move away electronics from the bedroom where possible. So move away your iPad, move away any laptops. If you want to have your phone with an alarm on, then that's absolutely fine. Perhaps switch off Wi-Fi or notifications, maybe even turn the phone face down so that you can actually don't get notifications coming on during the night. Again, prior to going to bed, perhaps setting up a routine where we're not stimulating our mind too much, so perhaps not watching anything or doing anything that's going to stimulate our mind too much. If we want to read before bed, that's fine. Some of us may find that relaxing. In terms of stimulating drinks, etc., try to limit caffeine intake at night. That can often be something that can prevent us sleeping well. Maybe try a herbal tea or some water or those kind of things, perhaps chamomile tea. Checking the temperature of the room as well, so making sure the room is not too hot, not too cold. So if we want to open the windows for a bit to let some cool air in before we go to sleep, that's often a good idea. And in terms of our own routine before bed, some of us may have a shower, some of us may want a bath, some of us may like to listen to some relaxing music. We're all very different, so it's important to find something that you like doing that helps relax you, whether it's perhaps listening to some music, reading a book, perhaps lighting some candles or having a relaxing bath. But it's important to do what we like doing because not everybody likes those things. In terms of getting to sleep, it's important to set up that good routine so that we've got that routine so our brain knows when we're going to go to bed. It recognises it's the similar kind of time, so that's important. When we're in bed, there's some simple things that we can do when we're in bed. We can tune into the sensation of the out-breath, which is naturally very calming. For the technical people out there, you may want to notice that stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, so that helps calm. It's that relaxation, that calming sensation of the breath, and that will be part of what I'll guide you through in the body scan practice. If you wake up during the night and you need to use the bathroom, then please do. How many times do we lie in bed thinking, I need to use the bathroom, and actually then we can't get back to sleep because we need to use the bathroom? So if you need to use the bathroom, please do. It sounds obvious, but actually the amount of people that don't do that and then can't sleep, that's often a very tricky one to manage. In terms of sleep routine, it's worth getting a little sleep journal or making a note somewhere of your sleep pattern. There is no quick fix or magic answer to sleep. You're not going to suddenly do a mindfulness practice or a body scan practice or listen to this video and suddenly have a full 8 hours sleep if you've only been sleeping for 2 or 3 hours. So it's important to manage expectations. It's important to notice changes in your sleep pattern because all of our sleep patterns are very different. So perhaps noticing how long it takes you to get to sleep, perhaps noticing how easily you get to sleep, perhaps noticing how long you sleep for, and also if you wake up during the night, and actually perhaps how long it takes you to get back to sleep once you've woken up during the night. So you may notice that by doing some of the techniques, actually you can get back to sleep more quickly. So it's all important to notice our changes in our sleep patterns for us, because like I say, it's all of our patterns are very, very different. So I'm going to guide you through a mindfulness practice now. This is a body scan practice, and I'll explain first what that is. So the body scan practice is where we tune into sensations in the body. We're not thinking about the sensations, so we're not engaging the mind necessarily. We are tuning into physical sensations, so we're going to cover the head and the face, the neck and the shoulders, the arms and the hands. We're going to tune into sensations of the breath in the chest. We're going to notice sensations in the tummy, the thighs, the knees, the calves, the ankles and the feet. Now, it's really important not to do this practice when you're driving. Sounds obvious, but just make sure you do this when you're not operating machinery and you're not driving. And also important to notice any aches and pains we may have. If anything is uncomfortable at any point, it's really important that you take responsibility for yourselves. So you can either move to a different part of the body, or you can tune into your breathing. Or if you want to, you can stop the practice. But this is really important to take responsibility for yourselves. So we'll start the practice, and then we can go through some feedback and things after that. So it's important when you do this practice, if you want to do this lying down, obviously it's a natural one to do lying down when you're in bed. It's important to get yourself comfortable. Prop yourself up with pillows, make sure you're cool enough or you're warm enough. You can do this practice not lying down, you can do it seated in a chair. You don't necessarily have to do this practice at bedtime, but it can be beneficial to do this practice at bedtime. So first of all, it's important to get yourself comfortable, and we'll make a start. And remembering that it's important to take responsibility for yourselves and to move to a different part of the body, tune into your breathing, or to stop the practice if there's any areas that are uncomfortable or painful. This can be accessible for people with different health conditions, perhaps fibromyalgia or some long-term conditions, but again, it's important to take responsibility for yourselves. So we'll start the practice. You can do this either with your eyes open or your eyes closed. If you are doing this practice lying down in bed, I would suggest that you close your eyes. If you want to try this at first seated, that's absolutely fine. And again, personal preference, if you want to keep your eyes open or closed, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. So we'll make a start. So I want you to bring your attention to your head. So to the top of your head and to your face, to your eyes, your cheeks, your nose, your mouth and your jaw. And gently becoming aware of sensations here as best you can. I'm not trying to make sensations happen. And some sensations may be subtle, and that's okay. Not trying to change anything. Just simply tuning into sensations as best you can. And remembering, if anything's uncomfortable, we can move to a different part of the body, or we can tune into our breathing, or we can stop the practice. And gently noticing sensations coming and going, and allowing them to be here as best you can. And remembering we're feeling the sensations, we're not thinking about them. So when we think about sensations, we think they may be constant. But when we feel the sensations, we may notice them changing, may notice them varying in intensity. And the mind might be busy during this practice, and that's okay. But gently letting any thoughts come and go. And then coming back to the part of the body that we're on, which is the head and the face. And gently moving down from the head and the face, down to the neck and to the shoulders. And remembering that if anything's uncomfortable or painful, or we want to move to a different part of the body or tune into our breathing, then knowing that we can. It's about taking responsibility for yourselves. But noticing the sensations that are here as best you can. And allowing the sensations to be here just as they are. And remembering we're not thinking about the sensations, so we're not thinking about what the pain is like or what the sensations are like, or if there's any tension in the shoulders or neck. We're tuning into the sensations and noticing them changing, noticing them coming and going. Perhaps noticing if one side feels differently to the other. Maybe the left side feels differently to the right side. Maybe they both feel the same, but gently exploring the sensations and allowing them to be here as best you can. And gently moving down from the neck and the shoulders, down to the arms and to the hands, to the tops of the arms, to the elbows, to the forearms, the wrists, the hands and the fingers. And gently becoming aware of sensations here as best you can. Remembering if anything's uncomfortable, we can move to a different part of the body or tune into our breathing. Gently noticing sensations in the arms and hands. And remembering we're not thinking about the sensations, we're feeling them. So gently noticing sensations, no matter how subtle or strong they may be. Not trying to change the sensations, not trying to make them different, not trying to analyse them or think about them. Being with the sensations as best you can here and now. And gently moving away from the arms, the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, the hands and the fingers, and bringing the attention to your chest. So gently noticing the sensation of the breath here in the chest. Noticing that physical rising and falling sensation of the breath here. Gently breathing in and breathing out. Letting the breath be normal. We're not trying to hold our breath, not trying to change anything about the breath. So it doesn't matter if the breath is deep or if it's shallow. Not trying to change that. We're just going with the breath as it is now. Really tuning into that physical sensation of the breath. Noticing the rhythm and flow of the breath, that constant change of in-breath and out-breath. And there's an inevitability about the breath. There's that constant change. So in-breath is followed by out-breath. And after each out-breath, it's followed by another in-breath again. So there's that constant change and flow of the breath. And spending a few moments now tuning into the sensation of the out-breath in particular. So the in-breath is naturally softening. The out-breath is naturally softening and releasing and relaxing. And the in-breath is naturally energizing and opening. So really tuning into that sensation of the out-breath. Really noticing that sensation of the breath out, how that feels. It's like that sigh of relief, isn't it? And letting that air out. And the out-breath can be really helpful to tune into, especially if we wake up during the night or if we're feeling restless. It can really help to calm the mind and the breath down, to tune into the sensation of the out-breath. Really helpful if we wake up during the night, if our mind's busy. Really coming into that physical sensation of the out-breath and paying attention to the out-breath for the full length out. And then gently moving away from the out-breath, moving away from the sensation of the breath, moving away from the chest and bringing your attention down to the tummy. So gently noticing sensations in the tummy as best you can. Remembering if anything's uncomfortable, we can take responsibility for ourselves and move to a different part of the body or tune into our breathing. But gently noticing sensations in the tummy as best you can. And remembering we're feeling the sensations, we're not thinking about them. So when we feel them, we may notice them vary slightly, perhaps changing in intensity. And when we think about the sensations, we think they may be constant, which isn't necessarily the case. Being with the sensations here as best you can, as they are now in this moment. And gently moving down from the tummy, down to the thighs and to the tops of the legs. And noticing sensations here as best you can. Remembering again to take responsibility for yourselves if anything's uncomfortable. You can move to a different part of the body or tune into your breathing. Perhaps noticing the weight of the legs, where they make contact with where you're sitting or lying down. Noticing the heaviness of the legs. And perhaps noticing if one side feels differently to the other side. Maybe the left side feels differently to the right side. They may not both feel the same. And then gently moving down from the thighs and the tops of the legs down to the knees, to the fronts of the knees, to the kneecaps and to the soft skin behind the knees. And gently noticing sensations here as best you can. Again, remembering if anything's uncomfortable, we can move to a different part of the body or we can tune into our breathing. But being with the sensations in the knees as best you can. And for some they may be subtle and for others they may be stronger. We're not trying to change the sensations. We're simply going with what's happening now in this moment. And then gently moving down from the knees, down to the calves and to the fronts of the legs. And noticing sensations here as best you can. And being with the sensations no matter how subtle they are. sensations to come and go. And gently moving down from the calves and the fronts of the legs down to the ankles and to the feet, to the tops of the feet, to the soles of the feet, to the toes. And perhaps noticing the feeling of socks or shoes or tights. Noticing the sensations where our feet are resting. So whether it's on the ground, on the floor, perhaps noticing that sense of connection where the feet are resting. And then gently moving away from the ankles and the feet and taking in the body as a whole. So getting a sense of how the body as a whole feels. So we've scanned down different parts of the body, but just getting a sense now of the body as a whole. Perhaps noticing changes now compared to before starting the practice. And then gently starting to bring the practice to a close. So perhaps having a little wriggle or a stretch if you want to just move in a way your body wants to, maybe moving out your shoulders, stretching your arms, wiggling your fingers and toes. And becoming aware of the room and the space around you. And becoming aware of any sounds around you. And then just giving yourself a few moments just to fully become aware of the situation and how you're feeling now. So this is a very beneficial practice, or can be a very beneficial practice to do, especially because of the nature of we're tuning into sensations in the body. So it can be really beneficial to do when we're lying down prior to going to bed. We can also practice it at different times of the day, that's absolutely fine. But I hope you've enjoyed this session, and I hope you've enjoyed the practice. And thank you for listening and for watching.